I'ma keep it a bean. Stick to the script every scene. These from last year, but they clean. Say to say I'ma take something else, but it's winning team. Charlie Sheen, fam gang the regime. I'm from Potty Green. This been overdue forever. Asked me when it was dropping, said never. Should've made you cut the feta, but I designed it Freemason Margiela.
What's good, Shellitronnn here, the most woke, no joke, and I'm back at it again with a brand new video. And in this episode, we're going to be breaking down and talking about a guy who projects to be an elite, a top flight receiver in the league starting next year, and probably does project to have a pretty long career as a premier receiver in the NFL. But obviously, I think we all understand that this guy will not fall to the number 16 pick that the Panthers currently have. So we're going to be talking two different topics today. One, just how good is DK Metcalf? And two, is he good enough for the Panthers to consider trading up to get him? Let's just say and assume that for the purposes of this video, it takes the Panthers going up to the number 10 pick to get DK Metcalf. I think he'll probably go sooner than that. Let's just say around 9 or 10, because anywhere higher than that is a definite no. It would be a bad idea in general to trade up 8 to 10 plus picks. DK Metcalf is a 6'4", 225-pound monster of a receiver. This man can really do it all. Oh, actually, hold on. His route tree does leave a little bit to be desired. I think his inability to run routes was kind of overblown by his poor performance in the combine. But I think DK Metcalf, with the right coaching, with enough time at minicamp, training camp, and the preseason, could definitely grow his route tree. It doesn't have to be immediate. It might take him a year or two to learn more of the routes and, expand his route tree. But what he can do right now is good enough to where he will be a really great receiver in the league, probably starting off in his first year. I mean, he projects to be kind of like a Josh Gordon kind of guy. But there are a few things that do give me a little bit of cause to pause when looking at DK Metcalf. Throw up his stats right here. His stats, the best way of putting it is they look horrible. Looking at his stats here, what's the first thing you notice? Like, what jumps out the most at you? For me, it's not yards, it's not touchdowns, it's not receptions. For me, it's games played. In his 3 years at Ole Miss, he played a total of 21 games. That is not good in the least. There were some injury issues here and there. He's kind of injury prone, but he's such a big body, strong guy that I don't know if it's going to actually follow him into the NFL. And his skill set is so great that if I had to pick that high to pick him up, I would maybe roll the dice and say I hope that he stays healthy in the NFL because he is a game changer. 2017, he had 39 receptions, 650 yards, 7 touchdowns. This past year, he had 26 receptions, 569 yards, 5 touchdowns. Those don't really scream number one receiver at me. Those numbers are really, honestly, not good. Borderline horrible when you consider that he's going to be a top 10-ish kind of pick in the draft this year. And a lot of times when you see really good and honestly great receivers with poor numbers in college, you think to yourself, okay, maybe he is in a scheme where they ran the ball a lot, like maybe they weren't like having the best quarterback play in the years he was there. But you guys know I love context, so I actually looked it up. And Ole Miss had some pretty good quarterback play and some really good receivers in 2017 and 2018. 2018, the quarterback was Jordan Ta'amu. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Ta'amu had about a 64% completion rate. He almost had 4,000 yards, 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Not the greatest, but obviously not that bad either. And looking at the receivers, A.J. Brown had 85 receptions, 1,300 yards, 6 touchdowns. DeMarcus Lodge had 65 receptions, 877 yards, 4 touchdowns. Like I said, DK Metcalf, 26 receptions, 569 and 5 touchdowns. That's not all that great. He was the 3rd best receiver on his own team this year in a pretty pass-happy offense. But let's dive a little bit deeper here and get more context. 2017, there were 2 quarterbacks. There was Shea Patterson and Jordan Ta'amu. 64%, 2,200 yards from Shea Patterson, 17 touchdowns, 9 receptions. Jordan had 65% completion rate, 1,700 yards, 11 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Those aren't terrible numbers for 2 different quarterbacks. A.J. Brown had 75 receptions, 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns. DeMarcus Lodge had 41 receptions, 700 yards, 7 touchdowns. And obviously DK Metcalf had 39 receptions, 650 yards, and 7 touchdowns. 2 years straight with pretty good passing offenses where he was the 3rd best option on his team receptions-wise. That is a little bit strange to me for a guy being touted as highly as DK Metcalf. That does bring up a few questions for me because that's kind of tough to read I had to see what the actual scheme was that they ran at Ole Miss. I won't lie to you, it's kind of a hard sell to ask a guy who has never even been the second best option on his team in college to come on your NFL team and be the premier focus of your entire passing attack. The guy who's going to get the #1 coverage. The guy who's going to be, for the most part, the very first read in the passing attack. But then you get to his skill set, you get to how his body type is, you get to how fast he is. Look at his combine numbers. And the man's a monster. If you've seen pictures of DK Metcalf, you come on, man. The dude is a physical freak of nature. 4.33 in the 40, 27 on the bench press. There are premier offensive linemen. I think Jonah Williams only got 23 on the bench press. DK Metcalf, a wide receiver, 27. There's guys, there are defensive edge rushers. There are guys up and down the O&D line who weren't getting 27 reps on the bench. This man is a worked out warrior. There's been some questions about validity. I'm not going to get into all that. I'm not even talk about that much. 40 inches on the vert. You see 36, you know that's pretty good. 37-ish, 37.5, that's great. You see 40.5 on the vert. You know this guy is a high point monster. He's strong, he's fast, he can jump high. What else do you really want from your receiver? I mean, the 3-cone drill was bad. Let's be honest, it was horrible. That's not what we want to see. I think he did a lot better at his pro day than he did at the combine though, so he did kind of redeem himself there a little bit. But all this stuff about his route tree and whatnot, how hard is it to run a go or a fade? How hard is it, to run a comeback route? The man isn't that bad. He's not all that horrible in his routes that you can't find a spot for him. The question isn't about, exactly the injury history, although that is probably up there for me. The question is it actually worth it for the Panthers to trade up to pick DK Metcalf? Oh man. The answer is probably not. Just because there's going to be teams like the Dolphins, teams like the Redskins, who are very quarterback needy, who might be willing to trade up in the draft. And if they're looking to trade up, obviously for a quarterback, then they're willing to give up a lot more than we are. And it becomes a bidding war with some of these teams between picks number 8 and 10, probably picks number 7 and maybe even 11 at some points, although the Dolphins are pick number 13. I mean, it wouldn't be much for them to go from 13 to 11. But still, I do predict there's going to be quite a bit of movement at the top half of the first round of the draft. And we are literally the line that splits the first and second half of the first round of the draft. It's going to be hard to get up to top 10. It's going to be very hard to get up to top 10. I see it taking a little bit more than we should be willing to give up because we have a lot of needs that need to be addressed in the first few rounds, first 3 rounds. And wide receiver, although he would be a great addition, and he is the exact kind of player the Panthers need in their passing attack, the kind of piece that would submit this offense to be in contention to be a top 3, maybe top 4 most explosive, most high potential offense in the entire league the night of the draft. I just think that, edge rusher, more protection for Cam, any kind of help in the secondary at free safety, a slot corner, those are all high needs. And although DK Metcalf is the prototypical X receiver, it probably isn't worth it. It would probably be better to get an edge rusher or an offensive lineman in the first round. Giving up draft picks for a receiver. Maybe last year I might think about doing that, although I'm really glad we got DJ Moore. If DK Metcalf was in the draft last year, maybe. But this year, I really don't see it. It probably is going to be a no for me. But what about you guys? Would you trade up for DK Metcalf? How high do you think he'd be going in the draft? Do you think he's going to be at number 8, number 10? Where does he land? How much would you give up for him? And is he even worth a first round pick given the team's other needs? Let me know all that in the comments below. And you already know what to do with that like button.
Cheers to you, appreciate the chance. Been told y'all I been the man. Been told y'all I had the gift. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Real ones gonna recommend. Count this as another win.